If you could have become a multi-billionaire because of a decision that you made or that you failed to make many years ago, you would probably kick yourself too in the future. Like, I wanted to tell my kids, my grandkids, a story of, hey, a worst case scenario, I take this risk, nothing, it doesn't work out, and I can move on with my life. What's going on, everybody? Karthik Ramaswamy here, Chief Operations Officer for Using Marketing. We are a company that has went from $250,000 in debt to $10 million a year in yearly revenue in just 5 years. My goal for this video and this channel is to hopefully give you a thing or two, share a thing or two with you that you can take, implement into your life, and achieve something worthwhile to help you hit your dreams. If I have done that in these videos, or if any of my colleagues have done that in any of our videos, please give us some support by commenting, and subscribing, and all those things that you hate YouTubers saying, but we say it anyway. But let's get down to it. TDS. What is that? TDS. Toxic Dream Stealer. Toxic Dream Stealer is a term that I first heard in network marketing back in 2009. It's very interesting because I was in this MLM meeting. If you're not familiar with MLM, it is multi-level marketing, basically what is considered pyramid scheme or something like that. Just to be clear, I didn't make any money in multi-level marketing. In fact, I lost a lot of money. I went to those meetings religiously, MLM meetings. I was there every single meeting. I was absorbing every word from that meeting, including the tone that the guys used to talk to the audience. I would just look at all these things and try to read between the lines. And I honestly have to say that I contribute a lot of my achievements to multi-level marketing. Not because I succeeded in multi-level marketing, but because I was so passionate about what they were doing, and I saw how successful they were, and I wanted that so bad that I was willing to write down how a person walks in front of an audience, like the steps that he took. I can remember it to this day, the exact steps that he took. I was so obsessed with learning how to become so successful that I basically worshiped the ground that he walked on. Anyway, so he talked about Toxic Dream Stealer in his meeting, and this would happen every week. Like, if you've ever been to a multi-level marketing meeting multiple times, you'll realize that they tell you the same pitch over and over and over and over again, because there's always a new person there that hasn't heard it yet. So me having gone there twice a week for many months, I basically memorized this guy's speech. So he talked about toxic dream stealers when he was talking about how when you go and tell your friends about how you join network marketing and they tell you, dude, that's a scam. Of course, in multi-level marketing, they're going to paint those big people out to be bad guys because they're toxic dream stealers. When in reality, a lot of people just looking out for their friends who just got $500 taken out of their pocket and going into something that has a low chance of success. But if you think about the concept, right? If you take the notion of multi-level marketing out and you think about TDS, toxic dream stealers, you'll actually notice it's pretty profound. It's much more common than you might think. Especially as an entrepreneur, you've probably experienced a toxic dream stealer more than one occasion. If you've had your business for a while, you've probably experienced it. And if it's probably going to be from people who are very close to you, which is the ultimately very sad for people like husband, wife, mom, dad, kids, siblings, people that are very close to you, tell you that what you're doing is not going to work and that you shouldn't do it, and you should go out there and do something that somebody else has done, like go to school, get a good grades, get a job, go to med school, go to law school, or become an engineer, and things like that. That's the programming that they have in their mind, and that's the framework that they believe will work. So they try to protect you, their loved one. Like, they come from a place of genuine goodness. Like, people don't actually go out of their way to tell their sibling or their spouse that they should stop running a business because they have some ill will or anything. Like, people aren't like that. People just want the best for you. So the reason that 95% of people are employees and not business owners is because they're not tolerant to risk. They're risk intolerant. So if you think about someone who's lactose intolerant, their body does not accept milk. Well, a lot of people, 95% of people, are risk intolerant. They're not able to handle the risk. They're not able to handle the insecurity of not knowing if they're going to get paid the next day because their business didn't bring in any revenue the day before. So what is anybody going to do when they're in a position when they don't know where their next meal is going to come from? Well, if you think about it psychologically, they go immediately into their fight or flight response mode. So they immediately go into their primal instinct, which tells them, I got to do something, I got to eat. So I either fight or I flight, or fly away. So that's the kind of mindset that people have when they're telling you these things, like stop doing your business is not going to make any money, or your saturated market, like pressure washing, right? There's 1,000 pressure washing guys in probably my area of Houston alone. So why should I start another one? I mean, I'm obviously not going to start another one, but if you think about it, there's so many people that do pressure washing. Why would someone start another pressure washing business? Well, I mean, there's plenty of money to be made. If you think about it, in any industry, there's plenty of money to be made, whether it's saturated or not. So people that have your best interest at heart might be the most toxic in that moment. So you have to figure out how to move forward with these things, right? Some of the risks that I've taken as an employee of this business is akin to the risks that a business owner would take. So back many years ago, when I first started with this company, I was barely getting paid at all. And I'm saying this because this is my choice. This is something that I believed in so hard. I willingly accepted. I went after a pay rate that was so minimal with the intent that I would eventually become running the company. And this, like, I would just think about a story that I heard in these multi-level marketing meetings. And I don't know how true this is. I've tried to fact check this recently. I've tried to find the story. I was not able to find documentation of the story, so I don't even know if this really happened, but the story has always stuck with me ever since I heard it at that multi-level marketing meeting. So let's just pretend it's true. Walt Disney, obviously one of the most successful people in the entire world, and it's just like a master of entertainment. Now Disney Corporation owns some of the strongest franchises in the entire world. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, man, they just acquired Fox, 20th Century Fox, so now all the Marvel stuff is in the MCU now. There's Star Wars. Like, Disney is pretty big, right? So this is back when 1930s, 1940s, whenever Walt Disney was, before he was even a thing. So he was trying to open up Disney World, right? So when you're trying to open up a theme park, what do you need? Land. So he goes around trying to find a person to get the land from, and eventually Walt Disney went up to this guy. He was like, hey, I have a proposition for you. If you let me build my park on your property, I'll give you a percentage of my business, like 5-10%. Let's just say 10% for the sake of this conversation. So the guy was like, hell no, man, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to give you this money, or I'm not going to give you this land to open up a theme park. It's too risky. Like, who are you? You're nobody. Sure enough, 30 years later, the dude's probably kicking himself. And I heard this story that this guy was kicking himself. He said the biggest thing he ever regretted was not taking that opportunity. I've heard a similar story about Apple too. Steve Jobs one time did a similar story. So I always thought to myself, I don't want to be that guy that's going to kick myself 30 years down the line from not making the decision that I should have made. Like, that would be a huge regret that I would never be able to forget. Like, honestly, if you could have become a multi-billionaire because of a decision that you made or that you failed to make many years ago, you would probably kick yourself too in the future. I wanted to tell my kids, my grandkids, a story of, hey, a worst case scenario, I take this risk, nothing, it doesn't work out, and I can move on with my life. So that's the kind of mentality that I had. So I was so seeking out a scenario where I could build something, be a part of something, be the first employee at this company. I was essentially seeking a startup, but I had no qualifications. I had no education, no formal education. Like, I don't want to get into it now, but like, if you look at my stuff on paper, I'm like the least desirable person that anybody would want to hire. So if I go somewhere and try to propose, hey, I would like to run this company in a few years, I'm willing to start off at $100 a week for 60 hours a week. I'll commit myself full time and I'll do nothing but work here. People wouldn't take me because of, like, just looking at the background. I don't want to get into it now. I'll maybe make another video on it at another point. But anyway, like, that's the type of risk that I was so willing to seek out. But every single person, friends, family, they all told me, don't do it. You're gonna get something on paper, get an agreement by the owner, make a contract, sign something, get a lawyer, all this stuff, man. Like, all these people saying all these things, and of course they're all coming from a place of goodness, right? They all come from a place of like genuine care and concern for their fellow friend, cousin, brother, whatever. So But that's what I had to deal with. I had to deal with that. And the owner of this company, Quan, he had to deal with some crazy stuff too, because he started this company, and this company, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we went $250,000 in debt. That's crazy. There was a point in time when we were locked out of our own building by the landlord because we couldn't pay rent, and all the employees basically said we're not coming in because we weren't paid. So doors were locked, no money coming in, $250,000 in debt, and all the employees basically not showing up. Employees hadn't been paid, like all this stuff happening, right? He had to go through a crazy amount of stuff, but those are the type of risks that he was willing to take. And as such, because of those risks and because of overcoming that, we are at the level that we are now, and we're continuing to expand to the level that we're going to. But back to the TDSers, the toxic dream stealers, you bet Quan probably had 1,000 people telling him that, hey, you probably should stop doing this. You should give up. You should throw in the towel. So just think about it. If you were $250,000 in debt and you had your doors closed and you weren't able to bring money and you had a kid and you had a family, what would you do? Like, would you be able to stomach it? Like, it's a serious question there. It's a serious dilemma. But anyway, so toxic dream stealers are very, very, very important to understand, and they can be someone very close to you. But here's the thing. You can compartmentalize that scenario. You can compartmentalize those people in those particular instances, because you can't just shut someone out of your life, especially like a loved one. You can't just shut them out of your life and be like, hey, you don't want me to do my business, so I'm not ever talking to you again. Yeah, good luck doing that with your family. Good luck doing that with your spouse or your kids or something. Like, it's just not going to work. So what you have to do is you could say, hey, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I don't want to argue about this. I believe in this so much. I would love it, and I would love you if you can help me by letting me continue to do this, and if I have to experience pain, I will endure it. But if we could just let me do this and I can continue it and we won't touch the subject, like, you can obviously find a better way. What I just said was just off the top of my head, and it was a horrible thing. Like, I hope you don't say that to your loved one if they try to steal your dream away from you unintentionally. But yeah, just be aware of that, because the people closest to you can sometimes be harmful if you really take their advice. Other instances is not always as toxic. Maybe it's just like people coming from a good place but giving you bad advice, not realizing it. So there was a couple instances where we had incidents happen in the business. Obviously, as a business, some things happen. So I was trying to get as much feedback from as many employees as possible, but I realized that I was getting a lot of bad advice, and I was almost convinced that some of the things that these people were saying was the right thing to do. Weirdly enough, if you think about what other big companies would do, they would probably do what these people are suggesting. Like, I don't want to get too deep into it. There's a video on our YouTube channel if you're curious about it. Situation happened where someone canceled us on social media, so we made a video in response. So everybody that I had talked to was convincing me not to make a video. They were telling me, look, it's unprofessional, just give them a refund, just bite the bullet, just take the loss, take the hit, and just let it go. But my intuition was screaming at me so hard, like, no, this is not right. Hundreds of people are seeing this, and they're chiming in to this guy's anger, and it was just painting us out to be a really bad company. But it was just a huge misunderstanding. But my gut instinct was telling me that I need to make a video. I need to set this right. So I'm glad that I found another YouTube channel, Layla Hormozi. Highly recommend it if you're an entrepreneur. Look her up, Layla Hormozi. She's her and her husband run $115 million a year business, multiple businesses. So I look up to them a lot. But I found this video. I stumbled on this video of how to handle haters, and it was because of that video that I was able to get the guts, and like, it was the closure that I needed, the final step that I needed in order to take the jump and make that video to share with our following. Thankfully, I followed through with that, and like, it actually, the situation that was a horrible situation ended up being repaired. The damage was mitigated for the most part. Obviously, we still experience some damage. There's a lot of people that still to this day remember that, but the damage was mitigated because of that. But if I were to listen to the advice that people were saying, we wouldn't have had that opportunity. The loss would be way bigger. We would have just ended up looking like a company that actually messed up, when in reality we didn't mess up. It was a customer's misunderstanding. So anyway, that's kind of I rambled on so much about toxic dream stealers, about different scenarios and other things like that. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Please ask me a question. If you want to know anything about business, drop it in the comments. I would love to answer your question by making a video. More than happy to do that. Like I'm just so obsessed with business, I love talking about it. So leave a comment, ask me a question, I'll answer it. Aside from that, make sure to get yard signs through us, business cards, banners, flyers, all that good stuff. We do all that stuff, and be sure to stick around for the next one. So see you guys.